I'm Darren, this is Shawn, and today we're going to talk about Shawn's 1991 Lada Wagon. Nope, it's not a Volvo, it's not a Skoda, it's a Lada from Russia. So, Shawn, where'd you find this thing anyway?
I found it underneath the tree behind a guy's house down in southern Alberta, where she sat for better on 15 years.
So, what in the hell possessed you to buy a Lada Wagon?
I had a Lada Riva, which was good fun until the floor rotted out, and this thing was a little bit unique and different from that.
Yeah, it's definitely different from the Lada Riva anyway. It's a two-wheel drive, it's a wagon, it's a four-door, that's unusual. And I don't think I've ever seen one of these before, aside from pictures and old references to the Cold War. How many of these are left?
A handful of them in Canada, as far as I can tell. Not more than a handful or two, for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely unusual. We'll take a look under the hood.
Okay, what we have here is a Lada 1.5 liter single overhead cam carbureted engine. And it makes about 72 horsepower at 5,000 RPM maybe, if it can get that.
So who designed this engine? Was this a purely Russian design right out of the box?
No, it was designed by the Italians for their new upcoming model. They decided to sell it to the Russians to use in this, and they favored a twin cam engine instead.
So this is a really older kind of engine, like 1960s kind of technology. It's a points distributor, is it? Or
the earlier ones were. This is converted to a proper electronic ignition. It's got an adjustable timing chain. You have to adjust the timing chain tension as well as the valves every 10,000 kilometers or they eat themselves. It's got a mechanical choke. So it's as basic gets.
So this is all basically like 1960s in a car from 1991, when carburetors were pretty much only left on small engines in North America. They weren't very common, were they?
No, this engine remains unchanged from 1970 till present. All they did was they moved the displacement up from a 1.2 liter to a 1.5, and in later years a 1.7. So here we have the interior of the Lada, which is very basic. And to drive it is a bit of a unique thing. It has more in common with a 60s Dodge than it does anything else on the road. Down here you have all your buttons for your fans, your lights, all that jazz. Your climate control is up here, which there is no AC. Your AC is your windows. You have a full sweep of gauges that include temperature, battery, fuel, speedo, and tach, with an economy gauge so that you know just how great you're doing with no power. Other than that, it really has nothing. Manual steering, crappy cheap steering wheel that does nothing, and that's all it has. So we have the front of the car. As you see, the headlights are cracked pretty bad. We do have a solution coming up to sort them out. I did shave the bumpers off at front and rear because they looked absolutely horrendous. And we are probably going to do a different grille as well. I do have aftermarket wheels and tires on it. I had custom spacers made to fit them. We will cover that whole thing at a later date. Okay, so with this car, the fenders are welded on. You can't unbolt them, you can't change them unless you cut them and glue them or weld them. The door gaps on this thing are absolutely horrendous. Up at the top, she's flush. It sticks out the bottom over a ½ inch. If you slam it really hard, the bottom is fine, but then the whole door tweaks, and it's terrible. In the back even, they're not great. Again, custom wheels with the adapters, you can actually see them, and they have an aluminum rear drum brake on them, which makes them a bit odd. In the back, they have a interesting back end. The bumper over here that went through the body, so we made a custom set of plugs that covered it. Other than that, there's not a lot. It's a tiny little car. And again, door gaps are terrible. It's one of the worst things this car has.
Okay, so that's a really good overview of this thing just to get us started out of the gate so people know what we're talking about when we work on this car, do little projects. what do you say we take it and drive it around, see what it's like?
Yeah, we'll go bomb around the streets a little bit, maybe hit a tunnel, a bridge or two.
Yeah, that sounds great. We're going to switch off to the GoPro, see what the video quality is like, and do a sound check to see what this thing sounds like on the inside. Shawn has played with the exhaust, so it doesn't sound like stock.
Not even close.
Which is a really good thing, because stock, it sounded pretty lame. Shares a lot in common with like its Fiat cousins, does it?
Yep, and underneath is all Fiat 124 chassis from the late 60s, early 70s, which includes the Abarth rally cars, and underneath the suspension will all be cross-compatible and changed to do what the Fiat does, which is kind of the goal with this car. We already have the 1.8 pulled, the twin cam that we're going to build up for this. Goals for the power is about 170 horse, which in a 2,100 pound car should make it a lot of fun. I've got the lowering kit ordered. I've got bushings, shocks, everything for it. Brakes need to be ordered for the back to go to 4-wheel disc. Front chin splitter that the rally cars run, they make one for this car. And other than that is just beat on it, have fun. It is a daily driver, so it'll see time in the mountains. And also try and autocross it a little bit.
Yeah, and you drive this throughout the winter as well. You've already got one winter with it in pretty much stock configuration. It's been good to you, right?
Yep, one winter bone stock, and it started as long as it's plugged in, even at minus 38. It doesn't like it, but it does it. I've studded winters on Steelies. I'm trying to find one more Fiat 124 wheel so I can run aluminums in the winter, but that's all junkyard parts that I haven't quite found yet.
Yeah, so that's really good, because a lot of our projects that we've had prior to this point are kind of getting close to their 90% done. They're, you know, there's not a lot of movement. We've kind of got things figured out where we want to go.
Yeah.
Whereas this car gets back to basics, the low dollar stuff, the messing around with carburetors, for instance, which is something that hasn't happened so much in a long time, as well as just the core bits of dealing with a naturally aspirated engine, small displacement, and trying to wring as much power out of it as we can.
Yeah, have fun up around 6,000 to 7,000 RPM without still being going fast enough to get in serious trouble.
Yeah, and that's another problem, because a lot of our projects we've ended up with a high horsepower engine, and it's nothing to break the speed limits in second gear or to get into a lot of trouble in the city. I don't really think that's going to be much of the problem with
No,
this.
not even a little bit. Like, we are hard to the floor. So yeah, there is no getting in trouble with this thing. If you get a fine or a ticket, you've genuinely tried very, very hard to get it.
Yeah, definitely believe it. But you've always had kind of a history with four-cylinder cars, either racing or otherwise, and messing about with smaller engines.
Yeah, running tiny little 4-cylinders, 10 tenths, and sometimes 11 and 12 tenths, which is why I don't have the engines anymore.
Yeah, I know you've smashed quite a few Ford 2.3 liters, and I've had 2 of them break on me personally.
Yeah, broken 10 of them, 10 of the Ford 2.3s, one at extremely high RPM, over 10,000. That was a mistake. It was expensive.
Yeah, and well, you lost that set of 13-to-1 compression pistons for it.
Yeah, a complete mid-80s midget race engine got destroyed.
Yeah, that's a shame, but it died racing, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the one thing. I'd rather die racing than just be piddled around and not used with full potential. And that's the great thing with the motor we got from the junkyard. It was destined for the crusher, so anything we do with it is a longer lease on life.
Getting back to the Lada as we drive it here, it's a little warm, and it's not a cross-flow cylinder head, so that means the exhaust manifold and the intake manifold share the same side of the engine. And the exhaust manifold tends to heat up the intake, which will then boil the fuel in the car, bringing back the old known thing of vapor lock.
Yep, and it's particularly known for, the Ladas are, because they were built to withstand Siberian winters and the cold climates of Russia. So when you bring them to hot weather, anywhere from 25 degrees and up, they don't like it. They get hot very fast through the intake. The temperature, engine temperature stays cool, but
you start boiling your fuel.
Yes.
What happens?
And in the mountains, it's a real problem.
So that's something we'll be looking to tackle with the replacement Fiat engine and maybe some manifold cooling mods. A lot of tunnels.
And it's not the shift of smoothing transmission right now. That needs some work yet.
Oh, that's been the story of pretty much every Lada transmission we've had. They don't fall apart, but they're no rally car transmission.
No, they don't work well. The Niva I used to have has gone through 2 of them, which meant I had to buy a complete another Niva just for the transmission to put it back on the road.
Yeah, these cars are really rare for parts in Canada and North America in general.
Yeah, 99% of all my parts for the Lada come out of the Ukraine or Russia, which means I pay stupid amounts of freight on everything I order.
We're full out in this Pacifica is just pacing us at part throttle.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, 70 horsepower is
there he goes.
Yeah, 70 horsepower is not much. Especially with 8.5 to 1 compression, it is not doing anyone any favors.
This is always a fun place to drive, no matter what the time of day is. It's just really neat. It's like a tunnel.
It would actually be good fun to have the engine from the Niva in this.
Yeah, the Niva engine was a little bit more power and a lot better shape than this one, I think.
Yeah, it was a little bit bigger, another 0.1 of a liter, but it was 10 to 1 compression with Weber carb on it and a bigger exhaust, so it was maybe 85 or 90 horse, but in this that would actually be a lot of fun.
You'll notice Sean's getting quite a workout shifting all the time because you got to keep the thing in the power, otherwise it won't go anywhere.
Yeah, it makes no power under 2,500 RPM, and it runs out of power at 5,000 RPM. So you're always shifting, and the car has 410 gears, so you use a lot of RPM fast.
Loves being downshifted hard.
Yep. That's why it needs the rallying curves.
Yeah. It's got some body roll.
A lot of body roll. You can nearly wave to the other passenger from underneath. I was reading on one of the forums where they claim automatic transmission fluid will make this thing shift easier
I imagine it would.
and doesn't tear the bearings out.
Who knows? Could be anything at that point.
Because they claim 80-90, even the synthetic versions, being so thick, the friction material can't shove it out of the way to slow the gears down quick enough for shifting. So they're going to a thin material, a thin fluid. It clears out of the way and lets it slow the internals down quick enough to actually shift proper. But I'm scared of tearing the bearings out of it.
So, that completes a little drive around, interior view. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll catch you next time as we get into some of our more detailed projects and specific little things we're going to tackle, be it maintenance, improvements, old-fashioned hot rodding on a old-fashioned Russian car. But like, subscribe, and hey, throw something in the comments. Like what you seen, hated what you seen, whatever. Throw it in there. We'll say something back. Until next time.
Have a good day.